Mental health involves some really serious conversations, and some of those include suicide. At the moment, suicide is the largest killer of men under 50 and all genders under 35. Encouraging people to feel able to share their stories, their experiences, and access support is hugely important. Mental health includes illness as well as wellness, and it's important to make sure that conversations about mental health aren't always seen as negative. But importantly, 1 in 4 people will currently experience a mental health illness at any one time in the UK. And of those people, 65% of people report feeling that stigma has affected their close relationships with family and friends. So the work that we're doing with the Ambassadors Programme to hopefully reach out to the community and work with individuals to feel happier and more confident to share their story and their experiences will hopefully raise awareness of mental health and give people permission to share their experiences and to understand that there's a range of support available to them as well. So our Ambassador Programme involves working with local sports clubs and teams, and that involves not a lot, to be honest. It's really about building up that relationship and that rapport within those teams in our local community. So we'd love to come in and talk about mental health, provide some general awareness training, and from that we can identify if there are certain individuals within the team that are really interested and passionate about becoming ambassadors with us, about sharing information about upcoming campaigns, resources and information about support, but also feeding back to us if there's an ongoing issue, concern or worry within the club that they feel that we might be able to support more with. We really want to encourage and provide a proactive, supportive, non-judgmental environment for conversations about mental health to happen.
I suffered with PTSD. I witnessed a shooting in Canada when I was 12 years old. So I suffered with PTSD and depression for quite a few years of my life. And rugby helped me massively. I used it as sort of a release to get away from things. With mental health, there is sort of a bit of a stereotype that rugby players and hard men in sport can't be suffering with mental illness problems, but they can, and it's sort of important that we recognise it, because you could be the hardest, strongest bloke in the world, but you could still suffer with mental illness, and you sort of can't let people sort of suffer with it alone, really, because that's just not fair. And I think especially the club down here, Petersfield, is brilliant because everyone's so supportive. I've told a few of the boys, and they were like, their reaction was amazing to it. And like people at the club, the senior members of the club, that help massively. And there's no stereotype here, and I don't think there is in rugby anymore. If there is, it's certainly getting less and less.
I think mental health has had stigmas associated with it, which I don't subscribe to at all. I've personally been involved and suffered mental health issues over the last decade, and I've had a lot of support, and I think people would benefit from talking about mental health issues, and certainly a comforting environment like a rugby club can help you with that. If you look at the sheer numbers of people associated with rugby, whether it's children or adults, statistically there will be people suffering from mental health issues and not necessarily talking about them to their friends and their colleagues and fellow players, but actually having the openness and the ability to talk and support people suffering from mental health challenges on a day-to-day basis will give them the support they need to work their way through it. It's got to come from the leadership, because like anything, the leadership dictate how people approach attitudes towards mental health, and by being open and caring about the players, and not only the players, to be honest, the parents, people who come along and visit the club, we're all one big family, and actually to be open and to trust each other, to have the confidence in that environment to be able to talk about challenging issues like mental health will only be positive.
After hearing about the East Hants Mind Ambassadors Initiative, I sent out an email first to the women of the Rockley women's cricket team, and I didn't know what kind of a response I got, and I was absolutely bowled over by the amount of positive feedback. So we'll be looking now to take this forward with the assistance of HEH Mind, who will be guiding us through the process. We already know that we've got people that want to be ambassadors. We've got a whole club or clubs in Rockley that want to sit down and hear about Mind and the ambassador opportunities and take this forward, yes. Great to think that there are any vulnerabilities with those people or that person, that the ethos within the team builds up so much that they feel as though they can open up perhaps and talk, even if it's not to a member of the team but of the club per se, or people that's just in that environment.
So I think the fact that our club is like an ambassador for Mind is absolutely brilliant. Hopefully we can be sort of a leading rugby club in Hampshire and hopefully in the country for Mind and for promoting mental health in rugby and in all sports, and showing that there is no stigma involved, or there certainly shouldn't be, and if there is any stigma, stamping it out completely so that nobody needs to suffer with it, and hopefully our club can be a massive sort of leading front in that.
This is something that I think will actually change the whole culture of sport as a whole, and it will mean that people will want to go to sport not just to get fit and active and make friends, but also that they can actually go and discuss things that they might not talk to their partners or their friends or their family. And I think that this will actually make such an overpowering difference to how we look at sport as a whole in future generations. So this is a really important project. Ambassador in Sport is something that I think is going to transform sport as a whole. And for us at East Hampshire, it's one of our key priorities. But one thing that there is here is there's a key, that there's always that one person, that listening ear, that will actually make a difference to somebody's lives within those clubs. And that person actually could be the one that could actually help somebody out of a crisis that nobody actually knows is even existing.